to another fantastic episode of the Franchise Nutrition and Fitness Podcast. My name is Matt. I'm a certified personal trainer and a certified health coach, and all the other alphabet soup we talk about.
My name is Ryan. I'm a registered dietitian and a dietitian nutrition certified coach.
There we go. Collectively, we do make up Franchise Nutrition and Fitness. If you enjoy hearing us jack on this podcast each and every week, perhaps you'd like us to help you with your fitness and nutrition goals. And you do that by heading on over to franchisenutritionandfitness.com. That's right. I know it's a mouthful. It helps you with your typing skills. But you go over there, you can sign up for a free meet and greet. You can sit down with one or both of us, and we can go over your goals for 15 minutes and get you started to achieving your fitness and nutrition goals and going above and beyond and maximizing every bite and every rep. So today we're going to probably kind of go back before we both became all credentialed and all that fun stuff. I know I am, because today we are actually going to discuss some of our favorite fitness and nutrition books. Similar to last week, we have not talked with each other about it, so I'm sure there's going to be plenty of crossover. I've got some visual aids. I know Ryan's going to bring up some visual aids for the people that are enjoying watching us and watching you move around, because I can't sit still if you watch us on Spotify and other platforms. So anything fun going on with you this week, Ryan, outside of reading and outside of these fun books?
I heard this today, so I wanted to mention it to you, and especially to all of our friends and family that listen in the greater Atlanta area. The guy that I work with at the hospital, he and his wife went on an anniversary trip, and they went to Atlanta for one of the things, and they went to Tennessee for to like Nashville and Chattanooga and another random place, but they got an extra night in Atlanta somehow. And so they didn't have a hotel. So he quickly looked up and got the cheap hotel that was a quote unquote nice hotel. And so they stayed at the Claremont Hotel Claremont. I was like, you stay there for your anniversary, like Hotel Claremont?
That's fantastic. Yeah, if you're not from the Atlanta area, the Claremont Lounge, connected to the Claremont Hotel, is a best way to describe it is a dive bar that happens to have aged out exotic dancers.
It is an Atlanta icon.
It's been featured on like the Travel Channel and a bunch of different stuff. Like, it's a must-have. I can't go anymore because I've developed a nice little smoke allergy, and it is very much ingrained with the 50 plus years of just constant smoking in that building. But
I will say though, they do have they recently renovated the hotel side of it. It's still, my friend pointed out that you can tell that it's been renovated, but it still has that. This is clearly where people go for seedy locations in Atlanta. And but it was reviewed as like a 4-star hotel. So I was like, wow,
fantastic.
I wonder if that was like a 4-star, I don't know, 90 years ago when it like first opened. I don't know. But outside of that, I have been progressing on my quest to not back to 900 pound total. So you can follow along with that at Franchise Nutrition Fitness on Facebook and other social media sites. You'll see where we're progressing with that. And I don't know. I was a little saddened by the Braves' performance in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a lot of friends either from Philly or that are big Phillies fans. So a lot of excited friends, and I guess I'm rooting for another NL East team, this time with 87 wins instead of 88, to beat the Astros, because I can't root for the Astros. Fitness-wise, I'm about to finish up the 8-week program I'm running. I'll finish that up middle of next week. And then inspired by you, I think I'm just going to max out a few days next week and see what my current bench, squat, and deadlift are sitting at. So
yeah, enjoy those 5-minute rest breaks.
Exactly, which that's the worst. Yeah, mentally, I'm like, all right, come on, any day now.
Yeah, I don't mind. It's we can talk about this on another podcast time, but there is a good amount of evidence in the nuance of the waiting game, like how long you should wait between sets for things, for different purposes. And then also anecdotally, there's plenty of evidence. You can talk to any gym bro out there. You're going to find different reasons for different rest times in between sets.
Yeah, I'm just not a patient person in general. Like, and I love working out, but I'm also a get in to get out person too in the gym. Like I like getting in there and a quick and dirty 45 minutes of strength to an hour, depending on what program I'm running. So yeah, to sit there and go, all right, it just does not thrill me.
Yeah, that's the downside of going for a strength thing, because you got to plan that out a little bit more intricately. I've just been doing for this part of my micro cycle. So there's meso, mac, micro, right?
There we go. There's another podcast. I think
Yeah,
we've sort of hit on that in the past.
yeah, but either way, like this one will end at the end of this month, and then November is part 2, and then December is part 3. So December will really be where the progression to that peak week at the end, post Christmas. So I get plenty of carbs to push myself and build myself up for testing the numbers and see where I'm at sometime between Christmas and New Year's Eve. But some of those things are covered in some of the books that we're going to talk about today.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I'll go ahead and start, right? Just because it's going to be a little bit easier. We'll go ahead and get my wife asked, my wife, I know I mention it here all the time. She's also a dietitian. She asked, what books are you going to talk about? I said, I don't really know, but I am going to talk about one old one and then one new one. Although kind of annoyingly, the old one, quote unquote, is not really that old because a new version just came out of it in 2018. So it's not super old. But the one that I read was back in 2007, right? So in my first book is, for those of you on the video, you can see here, it's The New Power Eating by Dr. Susan Kleiner. So, oh, look, that's my book too. See, this book is old. That has an older version of it. I think that's version 4.
Yeah, I read this based off of your recommendation in probably 2007. Yeah, it's still that original copy I bought. Well, actually, I borrowed a copy of yours, and I liked it so much I wanted to have my own copy for my personal library. So yeah,
I have the one. Pull it off the shelf. Version 3.
Yeah, all right. So mine
Mine
slightly...
is second edition.
Oh, second. Right.
I'm like,
yeah, mine's third. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So
okay, yeah. So there's a 4th edition, and then there's the New Power Eating, is what it's called. But you can see here, what's really funny. I don't know if you pick it up on the video, but you can see. Let's see. Come on, even out for me, lighting. Shadow. There you go. All those markers on there. All those things are notes from back in like 2005, 2006, when I was originally bulking up for pro wrestling. So this is a quality book. I tell people all the time, because of this book, I am a dietitian. This is what triggered the major change. I did all of this. I made a bunch of meal plans for myself and followed all the recommendations in here to help myself get bigger while staying lean. And
what exactly is it about the book that you enjoy so much? Because I know what some of my reasons are, and it's probably going to be the same.
Oh man, so I will tell you this: for those of you that have been in the game for a long time, every nutrition book always starts out annoyingly with like the first chapter is usually about like the kind of the My Plate food pyramid method. But what I loved about this book is the very first chapter does not do that. Right. It does not go over like
hits the ground running, assuming you kind of know a little bit, which is nice.
Right. Yeah. And so she quickly goes over things like in the first chapter is about the title of the first chapter in my version is Fueling for Strength Training. And that's the title of number 1. So it's like, this is all about, you want to get bigger, you want to build more muscle, you want to boost your energy, you want to cut fat, you want to do all those things. What most of you out there listening to this podcast want to do. That's why I immediately gravitated toward this book. And it gives you the science. There's plenty of things in the back. There's also a section of recipes in the back that I've used for clients before and that they enjoyed. What I loved best about the book was it's like a really good plug and play kind of method where if you can build a plan for yourself and you can stick to it, it's successful. And I will tell you, what we do at Franchise Nutrition and Fitness is provide the support and accountability to help you stick to those goals that you set for yourself, because that's pretty hard to do. Me and Matt luckily had each other like kind of the whole time when we were going through wrestling, like we were pushing each other. And so that like we were our own support and accountability system. But this helped give me the backbone, as you will. It's like my guide to getting bigger and staying lean while I did it.
Yeah, I loved it, like so much so that I remember I actually built an Excel spreadsheet based off the recommendations for the caloric needs and breaking down the macros with it. And that's how I planned my meals with that. And yeah, I love that it was, in a time where, we were in college. It's very easy to gravitate towards the bro science, to actually have a resource that was evidence-based, science-based, and plenty of research behind it. And it made sense, and it was pretty simplified. I mean, that's a thick book, and I love it because it's pretty easily accessible. Like even if you're not credentialed with alphabet soup, like it's fairly easy to read and easy to understand the book.
Yeah. So that's my first book. That, like I said, that's my going old. I wonder how, let's see real quick.
Oh, I'm going to go much older than you for my first one.
Let's see. Mine was published in 2001. So.
And I love it that like it all still holds true. Like it's not, it wasn't, the flavor of the week. It wasn't the diet du jour. It's like, hey, here's stuff that, yeah, it's so more about the author than I do, because that's the reason I picked it up on your recommendation. Like she has worked as a registered dietitian for tons of athletes, tons of athletic, teams. So obviously what we're going for, it was a good person. It wasn't just somebody. It's like, hey, person on the, the general population, but also wasn't, like, oh, you gotta have three grams of protein per pound, because that worked for me. Like,
yeah, exactly. This is what worked for me, and this is why I look the way they do. I'm like, well, that's interesting. You're also a genetic freak,
right? Because I know we both know
freak. You're taking a lot of drugs.
I know several people that are genetic freaks, and like they have no structure to their workouts and their meals whatsoever. They're just genetic freaks, like, and it must be nice. That's what you always got to be careful about. Yeah, when you log on to Instagram and you get the influencers, it's like, oh, well, he looks fantastic, but okay, like that's not going to work for me.
Quality lighting and a good spray tan.
Absolutely. But speaking of looking fantastic, speaking of really old, speaking of one of the first books I read that got me into what I'm doing.
Yes. The Bible.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's Encyclopedia of Modern Bodybuilding. And I've read this thing like cover to cover at least 3 times. I love this book. You want to talk a little bit about bro science. There's some in there, considering a lot of the stuff was originally from the 70s. But there is a lot of stuff that makes sense. Probably don't want to go on some of the stuff that like this expands the rib cage and this.
And, definitely certain things that don't apply anymore in there. But I love that book too. I've given that book away as a gift to people. At the joke, you'll see it says on the bottom. I want to say it says the Bible of Modern Bodybuilding. I think it's what.
Yep, the Bible of Bodybuilding, fully updated and revised. Jones. Right. Yeah. When was this edition out?
Yeah, I have that same one. I don't want to pull it off the shelf because that'd cause a lot of books to fall off the shelf. It works.
Yeah, this one was 1998. Yeah, originally published in 85.
Yeah, so it is as old as I am. But what is awesome about that book that I really enjoyed is there are some really simple kind of like starting strength plans in there.
Yep.
That can help you along your journey in the beginning. I will say you can't do the programs that are in there forever. And some of them
are, especially the advanced one where he was, where it was what he was doing. Because talk about genetic freaks, talk about performance enhancing drugs, both. Yeah, so where he was doing his 2-a-days, 6 days a week, where like, and each session was like 2 hours. Like, yeah, when that's all you're doing, that sounds great. Don't know about you. I don't have that kind of time.
Yeah, I don't have that kind of time. Nor do I have like the funds to keep up with that kind of time. Like,
Absolutely.
I don't know how he could possibly afford to do what he did at the time, because he talks about like oh, we did these random little things. I'm like, man, I don't know, somebody was funding you. Like, there's no way. Uh, but yes, no, I do love that book, and I did follow some that also has meal plans in that book, and I did some of those things before I ever had any thoughts about being a dietitian. Like that, I walked into a gym in the summer of 2004. So way back, I'd already done a marathon. I was done with that. I walked into a gym with a guy. His name was Andrew. We worked together at Papa John's delivering pizzas, and he said, "You need to get this book because it's going to show you everything you need to do for working out." And so this is like, the internet was not what it is today. The YouTube was not out there to be able to give you videos about exercises.
You were going to bodybuilding.com and searching the forums and getting tons of pro science.
Yes. And T Nation before it was T Nation, I forget what it was before that. And pro hormone forums, also a good place. I don't think it exists anymore, but either way, the beautiful thing with that was you could look at the book, and there's pictures that were obviously taken with like a high-speed camera then, so it's like shows the articulation of the movement, which is really, really helpful for getting your base bodybuilding movements in, and your base mind muscle connection, which is really important for building.
Absolutely.
Being able to know like it should look like this and it should move like this, and that's what it's working this muscle. And so even if you just think about that in a kind of a passive way, like you're doing a bicep curl, but you realize that you need to move your arm in such a way and you should be feeling it in your bicep, that's creating that mind muscle connection.
Yeah, I really coach that a lot on stuff like this, especially like lat pull downs, pull ups. Like a lot of times people just have a tendency to crank just, with the elbow flexion, contracting the biceps, nothing going on with the lat. So yeah, that's good. I still love using that book just as a reference point. If like I'm wanting to just change up exercises, just like flip through real quick, like, oh, I forgot about that variation, or I haven't done that variation in a while. Yeah, because it's a whole encyclopedia. Go figure.
Yeah. And like I said, I think it's really great for the beginning point. Like I gave it away as a gift to a friend who worked out with me just before she moved out to Arizona. And she's like, what am I going to do? Because now you're not going to be out there with me. And I was like, oh, that's convenient. I got you this. And she's like, this is really
you dropped in her lap and she fell down out of her chair. Yes.
She's like, oh my gosh. She's like, this means a lot. And she still uses it. Like she sent me picture maybe a year ago. She's like, look, I pulled this out. I was doing the workout in the back here. So
yeah, I remember I bought that, and I bought Arnold's autobiography at the same time, and kind of read them as companion pieces. It's nice.
It'd be interesting to hear what he has to say now.
Yeah, this was definitely the older version of the autobiography.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So on the next thing, so I'm gonna do another. I don't want to share. Annoying. Share, unshare. Stop share. Okay, there we go. So the next book.
Where you just pull it up, like your social security number and credit card are on your screen for some reason. Like, stop.
Yeah. Is this one. So this is Peak Nutrition over here. This is Peak, the new science of athletic performance that is revolutionizing sports by Dr. Mark Dubs. So his doctor is a nutrition doctor. He's a CSCS, which is a certified strength and conditioning specialist. And this CISSN is a sort of like international sports nutrition, certified international sports. It's the two S's are, I can't remember whether it's like sports science or something like that. Nutrition. That's what that is. but this is obviously the audiobook version here, but you can get the regular book. It's also good. And this book is super new. It came out like in the last 2 years, I think. And it's the first edition of it. But hopefully one day we'll have him here on the podcast. Let's see if I can get it over here. The thing that I like about this book, since we're talking about this book, is really great for like you're like the nerd nutrition person. Like you want to get to the nuances that are deep in side of the like micronutrient profile of like what I'm trying to look for in these kind of foods to help maximize this part of my performance over here, to help increase my nitric oxide production, to help increase my oxygen saturation, which actually isn't like you can't increase that with nutrition, but you can increase your blood cell ability to receive.
So you went from like super accessible with power eating, like to like, hey, if you really want to deep dive, then get this one.
Yeah, I went a little bit too far, but this is really good, and like he markets it towards like it's great for personal trainers and those things, and people that really want to get deep into it. And it is good, but there are some points in this book where if you don't know specifically the science behind certain mechanisms, it might be a little confusing, or you can easily mislead yourself. Funny enough, I was looking at a net learning thing. We have to do these at the hospital for our jobs. We have to do these net learning. And they had a specific slide that was about nutrition for a specific patient population. And every single dietitian in the room started talking about how wrong it was. And so we all started just emailing the person to be like, this is incorrect. Please stop putting this information out there. It was just like, that doesn't even make sense. They're like, lot, but it's stuff that's like that you can find on the internet that can make it like, you can easily mislead yourself, and then you're also end up going to misleading people around you.
Absolutely. Start questioning stuff and getting a little bit of misinformation. Yeah, it's the telephone game essentially. Yeah.
That's my second book. Definitely recommend.
Right. So my, I guess technically third book, because power eating was mine as well. So this one I love for the exercise stuff. I know we've talked about this gentleman's nutrition stuff that you disagree with, and by proxy, I also disagree with. But Jim Stabani, I love his stuff when it comes to exercise. If you do a lot of fitness stuff on Facebook, you probably get targeted ads for his supplements and even for some of his workout guides. But I have so many encyclopedias. This is an encyclopedia of muscle and strength. The great thing about it is there's strength programs for everything in here. There's strength programs for somebody who only wants to do full body 3 days a week, all the way to somebody who wants to work out 6 days a week on a cut and all kinds of stuff. There are recipes and nutrition advice in there that some of it's good, some of it's not. If you know what you're looking for, and you can pick through it. But the workout stuff's fantastic. I've run several programs personally out of this book that I absolutely love.
Yeah. He also has a lot of his old programs in there too.
Yeah, I think it's the shortcut to size and shortcut to shred are like staples of mine. I love those. Yeah.
I think the book is worth it for the programs.
Absolutely, because he's got them all like behind a paywall now on his website. So like you can do that, or you can pay like $20 or whatever this book retails for, and you're good to go. $27.95, and of course, we're not getting kickbacks from Amazon. Boo. But Ryan keeps on pulling up Amazon pages. I got this from Amazon, and I'm sure it was much cheaper than that.
Yeah. And so my third book, I want to say this is on its second version, but is Becoming a Supple Leopard by Dr. Kelly Starrett.
Sexy. Supple leopard.
Right. So here's the thing. I am like chronically injured because of years of wrestling, strength training, and general everyday. You're the biggest guy over there, so you should be able to lift whatever random object. That wear and tear, I have repaired with all the things inside this book. Dr. Kelly Starrett is a physical therapist. He used to run what was called Mobility WOD for workout of the day. Throwback to last week's episode of all the acronyms. If you haven't listened to that one, go back and listen to that one, listen to all the other ones, leave a 5-star review on the podcast, wherever you're listening to on. But now he runs what's called the Ready State. And so he still focuses a lot on like CrossFitters. But what I love about this book, so I just want to show you real quick. He puts the pictures in here. I was like, this is what you're doing that you need to fix yourself. And this is how you do it. And it's like using stuff that's like a general workout things. So with, let's see here. This one is shoulder rotator cuff problems, but you can see all the pictures in there. That's him right there in the pictures. But the beautiful thing with the book is it's written by a physical therapist. If you go see a physical therapist, they're going to give you a long list of exercises to do, or like 2 exercises that you need to do every hour on the hour. And he actually does not think that's a good model for helping heal you. Like he talks about that all the time. And it's just, if you have 10 minutes in your day, do these little things to help mobilize your body, right? That's the supple leopard, right? Being able to mobilize and move easily. But that doing those things really helps improve your ability to perform in the gym and your everyday activities of daily living, and be able to
I know something I'm adding to my Amazon wish list. I have not read that. That sounds fantastic.
It's long, and what I utilize it for is when I have
just pulling that up on Amazon right now.
problems or anything like that. Because it's broken down by body part group and then subsequently by joint group, right? So if you have some random pain in your elbow and you're trying to diagnose it and figure out what's going on, he walks you through the steps of how to figure out what it is exactly. And then from there, you can decide, can you just do some therapy at home, or maybe you need to go see a physical therapist or an ortho, depending on what it is, an orthopedic therapist. Or do you need to go see like a doctor and like you need like some kind of surgical intervention? But he and I as well, like by proxy, I guess, will always advocate for try to avoid surgery. Like surgery is useful and good, but it should not be the first jump. You should try
it should be preventative healthcare as always. Like, yeah, that's.
So I distinctly remember like when I hurt my back, which is how I discovered Kelly Starrett. Like I hurt my back by doing Romanian deadlifts, and I went to go see I went to the point where I got an MRI, and
I remember this.
bulging disc in my spine between my L5 and S1. So it's very hard point to reach, kind of thing, like for like lacrosse ball, tennis ball kind of things. Like you can't really get there, but you wouldn't want to because it's a bulging disc, right? So that's just gonna make the pain worse. But so I couldn't figure out what it was. It was like it's somewhere down there. I couldn't tell if I had like broken something or what. So I got an MRI, like, oh, it's just bulging. And the doctor was like, we can give you some pain injections. I was like, can I just do physical therapy? He's like, well, that could work. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm just gonna do that. And so I talked to a bunch of physical therapists that I knew, and a couple of athletic trainers that I knew, and a couple of them separately from each other said, you should check out this guy, Dr. Kelly Starrett, because he has these things on YouTube that you can look up to help fix your stuff. And so that's how I discovered it. And I've utilized this resource time and time and again to help with any random ailments I end up creating for myself while I'm working out, or in just at this point in time, just like regular life. Like all my big injuries at this point in time have not involved working out or wrestling. It's like I was helping somebody move a table and I rolled my ankle really bad. So now I got to fix my ankle. Like that's kind
the worst. Yeah, I'm fine if I get like injured wrestling because like at least there's a cool story. I hate when I get hurt. Like, well, I take that back. I'm fine getting injured wrestling if there's a fun, good story with it. I hate when I've gotten injured wrestling and it's just like the most mundane thing. Like when I blew out my ACL, like at least with like the shattered ankle or like stabbing myself with a beer bottle, stuff like that's fun. Like stepping to throw a punch and blowing out your ACL, it's not, yeah, not nearly as fun.
Yeah, that's different. Do you have any other books?
Those are my top three. Those are my go-tos, kind of my staples. Because power eating, that's still like so to this day the foundation of how I build what I eat. Like it's a fantastic book.
Yeah, I love it. Like I said, I recommend it to people all the time. And the Encyclopedia to Bodybuilding by Arnold is also one that I recommend. Um, I have a bunch of nutrition books, like from here over, all on the shelf, nutrition and exercise books that I've read. But the ones that we presented are the ones that stick out the most to me that I think could give the greatest benefit.
Yeah, I was really wanting to go for stuff that's accessible. I think would be the best word. That those are accessible. Like it's not like super deep dives. Like you get a little bit of the science behind it, but it's like, hey, if I'm wanting to really build a foundation for my nutritional plan or my fitness plan, boom, you got it right there. Like honorable mention, I'm sure you enjoy this one too. Triple H's book that he put out was a really good one for beginners that
Oh,
had
yeah.
just some nice beginning workouts and stuff like that. It was not an awful book, and I'm sure you can find it super cheap now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's super cheap on Amazon and the used stack for sure. Unrelated to nutrition fitness though, personal favorite book. You have like a favorite book that's like you love going back.
Yeah, unrelated to fitness and nutrition. Yeah, it was Mick Foley's first autobiography. That's what inspired me to become a wrestler. So I
Okay.
read that in ninth grade. And if anybody who's ever read it, like you would go, why would that inspire you? Like it's all the trials and tribulations of going through all the violence and training that he did. But for me, it was the
Sleeping in his
first
car.
realization. Yeah, like all that awful stuff that you do and the sacrifices you make to work in that style of entertainment. But for me, it was the kind of the first realization that was like, okay, like you can have like a backup plan. You can be reasonably intelligent and you can be a professional wrestler because I was drawn to pro wrestling. I wanted to do it. I was like, oh, here's a guy who speaks three languages and wrote this autobiography. And like, it's like, okay, I don't have to be a big dum dum to do this. All right, I'm going to pursue it.
Yeah, it is crazy the amount of people that are professional wrestlers that have higher level educations.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is, and I think a lot of people would be shocked and surprised to find out all the degrees that all those people carry. Uh,
Yeah, I think people, yeah, oftentimes it's still the stigma from the last 60 years, like it's stupid wrestling, fake
right.
wrestling.
Not so much anymore. Um, my favorite book is The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. Um, it is a semi autobiographical. His autobiography is actually called If I Die in a Combat Zone, Box Me Up and Ship Me Home by Tim O'Brien. But that's his autobiography. But The Things They Carried is a pseudo autobiography of his platoon that was in Vietnam. And the things they carry are not all physical things, right? So I think it's really interesting to see how those things can play in people's lives, which is similar to what we do at Franchise Nutrition and Fitness, where your nutrition and fitness are pieces of you that you're trying to improve to help you out with generally with something else that's going on. Um, I got absorbed into nutrition and fitness to become a professional wrestler, right? So I was still doing that and going to school. It wasn't just, oh man, I really want to eat really well. I don't want to work out really hard. Like there was a goal that those were
And
part of.
and that's when people say I'm just not motivated. I'm not motivated. It's like you just haven't found what motivates you. And that's okay. Like the motivation for me when I was an overweight kid was, hey, I want to become a professional wrestler. I'm not in shape to do it. And so that was the motivation. Motivation's not this magical thing that just comes to you. You got to find your motivator. Yeah, very much that holistic approach too, of like making sure the nutrition's there, the fitness is there, the spiritual's there, the occupational's there, all that fun stuff.
Yeah. And all of these things can fit into your life. A lot of people want to, that I come across, say like, oh, well, it's impossible because of whatever, whatever, whatever. sign up for your free meet and greet at franchisenutritionfitness.com, and we'll show you how all of that could fit into all of your whatever. So that way you can help focus you on those other things. So that way nutrition and fitness, while still being in the forefront of your mind, aren't overwhelming the other things that you still have to do. But either way, I don't really have anything else to add about the books. So if you haven't already signed up for your free meet and greet, sign up for your free meet and greet today at franchisenutritionfitness.com.
Yeah, let us know what some of your favorite books are, whether it be fitness related or not, or nutrition related or not. Let us know. Give us some reading ideas. I've got a short little vacation coming up. Let me know what I need to pull out and read on the beach.
Yeah, check us out on all the various social media sites. We're at Franchise Nutrition and Fitness. You can also send us a message or your favorite book at franchisenutritionfitness.com at the bottom of the page for the contact us link. And otherwise, share this podcast with your family and friends. Maybe there's some books that they want to learn, or maybe some books that they want to share with you that are, they'd be interested in too. And then come back, let us know, tell us about it. Either way, like we say every week, maximize every bite,
maximize every rep.